Welcome to Attican Plays Railway Empire. All right, hi, this is Attican, and welcome to the fifth and final campaign mission as we go back and revisit the campaign missions, playing them with kind of the current technology through version 1.7. So in this particular one, we're going to start in Sacramento. I'm going to say that again. We're going to start in Sacramento because I forgot that. And we got a bunch of money. This one's really easy. We're going to play with the new industrialist, Roger, because that's our only choice. And of course, he gets the cheaper factories and can just go in and buy an industry without setting up an auction. And he avoids auctions when he can because they cost more. So I'm going to skip the cutscene. You can go back and watch other ones to see the cutscene. But what we've got here, and I always get so frustrated when they cover up the tasks with those with the text down there. But at any rate, I was trying to remember what those last ones were. But they are grow San Francisco to 50, build a university, which means we have to grow San Francisco to 60, and have an express line between San Francisco and Los Angeles. So our first task is to connect 4 stations together. So that just kind of cries out for a rapid expansion strategy. And the first thing, and normally in a rapid expansion, we look for beer, meat, but we're going to look for a little bit, do it a little differently this time. We're also, because we've got them and we've got so much money, we're going to go straight to the, what I call the super stations, the large station with the automated signal controls. And we're going to go down here to LA and put in a small station just to make the other end of that connection, because we won't be doing much with LA as we go through this. And here's where I started getting confused. I have played the Gold Rush so many times that I was thinking San Francisco was our headquarters. So I'm sitting here saying, why can't I build in LA? And eventually I'll figure it out and get it straight. But we'll run a line down to LA, passenger line, so that we can start working on an express line right away, and it will make us a bunch of money. And the other thing I forgot in these campaign missions is you start with a bunch of research. So I'll get to that in a minute. But right here, we see that Redding doesn't have an industry at all. So we have the opportunity to put a brewery in, which is the missing piece of our little starting cities here. We've got 2 meats. San Francisco and Sacramento are both meat, and we need beer. So here you go. See, I'm deleting the station in Sacramento, thinking that the fact that there's one in Sacramento is why I can't connect San Francisco and LA. And then eventually I'll punch in and figure it out. So I'm going to go fast forward. I know some of you just hate it when I fast forward, but here's the deal. This one, I just want to show you how to play it, and I want to keep it down to a relatively short video. And it doesn't take very long, by the way. Anyway, you'll see. But here I figured out, okay, I have to have Sacramento, because I noticed when I was trying to put in LA, it said Sacramento. You have to be connected with Sacramento. So now I punch in, I'm going to build Sacramento to San Francisco, then San Francisco to LA. So let's move ahead just a little bit. And I do apologize for those of you who like to watch it all, but I've got so many videos out there where you can watch every little thing I do, and how to build the track and everything else. So let's just move ahead a little. All right, so we hooked up Sacramento to San Francisco, ran a couple of trains on automatic. Now we've set this big long line along the coast, and I cannot imagine, I can't even count how many times I've built that line, playing Gold Rush and this one and playing this map and everything. But anyway, what we're going to do now is set up a passenger and mail only line between LA and San Francisco. And at some point in the middle of this, I'm going to punch in and realize that, hey, it may be January of our first year, but I've got research up there because this is a mission and they kind of preload you with a bunch of research. It's kind of great. But I'd forgotten about that and haven't done the research yet. So shame on me for that. But I'll punch in here in a minute. As I'm starting to build these trains, I'm looking at, oh, there it is. Oh, my God. So what I like to do in the 50s always is take this group right in here. I like that Dragon for better freight. And then that next one is great, standardized components, which gives you cheaper trains. We can also pick up the Rensselaer, which is an express train, which is perfect for what we need right here. So now we're going to go in here and make sure that we're running that Rensselaer on all of those express lines that we just set up. So make that change first, and then I'm going to start copying those trains, and we'll end up running a total of 6 trains between LA and San Francisco, all of them passenger and mail only, all of them Rensselaers, and we should see some really good revenue and shouldn't have any trouble getting an express line, which is one of our optional tasks. So that's going to be a really good revenue stream for us, as well as getting one of our tasks knocked off. So now we're going to go back and to kind of continue. Remember, we put that brewery in Reading. And now what we want to do is set up, we're going to use a 3-city cluster with a single warehouse as our approach for building. And that just fits this circumstance perfectly, because we've got this situation where we want to build Sacramento to 100,000, which is going to be our middle city, which is the one that tends to grow the best in this 3-city, one warehouse deal. So you can imagine where the warehouse is going to go. And if you haven't figured it out, you'll see momentarily. And so now we've got our 4 cities connected. That was our first task. So we've done kind of a rapid expansion strategy with a little mod, because we're running, we don't have the beer meat that we would like to have, but that's okay, because we got that express line running and it'll do great. So single warehouse, 3-city cluster, Reading, Sacramento, and San Francisco. We have to grow Sacramento to 100,000, and we need to grow San Francisco, remember, to 60,000, so we can put a university in there and get our other 2, the growing San Francisco and the university, our other 2 optional tasks. So now we're going to run the Dragon everywhere else, because the Dragon is the best freight train we've got. And even though these lines are city to city, I think of them as freight, because there you go, there's all that meat being hauled. So these are really freight lines that we're setting up. So we're at that point. I tell you what, let's move ahead a little bit more. What I do want to do now is I'm trying to go out and count. We've got to hook up 8 rural industries to our network. And that's not terribly hard. But I'm thinking about what's going to go in a warehouse, and where are they going to come from, and what would be the easiest way to hook them up, and where do I want to put that warehouse. And so you just sort of go out and figure out, okay, where are they coming from? And you can see they're surprisingly enough kind of coming from the west. A lot of them. The wheat's going to come, it is wheat in this map. Sorry, I've got in barley mode there. The wheat is going to come from the west, and we can run fruit from the west. Although I actually forgot to do it. Shame on me, I actually forgot. And we've got logs, we can run those from either side, doesn't matter. So I decided to put the warehouse here on the west side of Sacramento. And it's easy enough we're going to set it up and hook it into the lines we already have started. And the one thing I decided to do is go out and finish and go ahead and have our 4-track connection between Reading and Reading and Sacramento, because that's going to end up catching these lines that are going to feed into the warehouse. So I ran it all the way down, didn't really need to, but now we've got a 4-track line between the 2 cities, and we can plug our super warehouse, our warehouse with automated signals, into that line there, and then come out the other side of it and plug it into the line going over to San Francisco, and that'll give us the opportunity to run our pass-through. So we're going to have a single pass-through warehouse where we have lines going Reading warehouse, San Francisco warehouse, and so all the goods will come into the warehouse. They'll automatically feed Sacramento, and then that pass-through line will allow us to carry those goods on to Reading and San Francisco and allow those 2 cities to grow. So now we've got a beautiful little 3-city cluster with a single warehouse, and that should get us where we need to go in terms of our city growth. So let's move ahead a little bit. This is kind of, again, apologies to the folks who like to see every single thing I do, but let's move ahead till that warehouse kind of gets set up. You probably noticed we ran wheat directly into Reading, and we ran wheat into the warehouse. And the reason we ran you would think of a redundant line directly to Reading was because we want to free up the line going back to Reading to carry something besides wheat. So now we're going to hook up the meat, and we had a choice of where we wanted our meat, either San Francisco or Sacramento. I decided to go with Sacramento because it has to grow the most, so I want to make sure that it's growing. So we're going to pump cattle directly into Sacramento. And we've got, the 1850s research is just excellent. And I haven't even scratched the surface on the other side where you get all the nice mail and passenger benefits, which of course we got that money-making line LA to San Francisco. It should be doing that.
Over the coming weeks, and won't be able to help you for that time. A steam engine needs oil as lubricant. Washington needs dollar bills.
All right, so here we're setting up our pass-through. It's Reading, warehouse, San Francisco, warehouse, and easy as can be with these super stations. Don't even have to pick any tracks.
The journey time along the West Coast has decreased dramatically.
Okay, we just got the message. We now have our first express line, San Francisco to LA, so that task is done. And again, we're setting up our pass-through warehouse. We'll run them several trains. Their job, and I started out, I goofed up, I set them up as automatic. Don't want that. I want them freight only because I want to make sure that they have free space to carry those raw materials out of that warehouse to the next city, and the next city they're going to stop at. So I went back and changed them all to freight, and then made sure I was copying, made sure I got them all into freight only, and then started copying them as freight only. So let's move ahead a little bit more. So you noticed I added corn and sugar into the warehouse, and up there to the north hooked in fruit and a redundant sugar. And all I'm trying to do here is get that count up to 8 rural stations. And then here, to finish it off, going to put in this vegetable line, which isn't even needed yet in Sacramento, but I'm going to go ahead and set it up and put one train on it. And what will happen is that the train will just sit there until the point where Sacramento grows enough to require the veggies, and then that train will automatically start to load up and carry veggies into Sacramento, and I don't have to think about it anymore. So that's done. Veggies are going to come into Sacramento at the right time, and don't have to worry about it. So now we've got to grow Sacramento and grow San Francisco, and we're all set up for that with our 3-city cluster with single pass-through warehouse. We've laid a bunch of track, so all we got to do really is get our long line to Promontory Point, and that accountant we just hired would be great because that's going to give us a discount on our track. And now we have the opportunity to put a new business in Sacramento. And of course, one of the keys to these clusters and the city growth is to have the right businesses in each of your cities. So what we want to do for sure is put weaving in Sacramento, and we want to, of course, run cotton in there so that it's being satisfied and creating cloth. And of course, that cloth will go out and be shipped, will be sold in Sacramento and Reading eventually when it grows, and San Francisco if it's big enough. And we'll have 3 customers, if you will, for our new business, and we can make money shipping this cotton in, and it's all good. And that's where we took advantage of the new Roger with that cheap industry that we could put in. It was half price. So we'll just took our textile run, our cotton, into our existing line that we got coming down from those veggies, and run it into the system directly into Sacramento, and all is well. we've got a new, faster, better train, so we'll go ahead and update all of our passenger lines to that Rogers American, so they're even faster and better and making even more money.
I see your
And
progress, but I'm
life
still
is
afraid
good.
that
So
we may not
let's
reach
move ahead a little
Promontory
bit.
Point in time.
Now, several of you have called me on this, and shame on me, but I always forget that starting with 1850, you got all those nice specialty cars you can put on there, and they're really nice. I love them on those passenger lines where you put the dining car, the mail car, and the caboose on there, and then put your people, engineers, stokers, and conductors especially, but it's security guards if they help make everybody happy. And you put them on those passenger mail lines, and you can make some really good money. So I did go back there and update those. Something I should have already done on that LA San Francisco line, which is put those specialty cars on there to make more money. So that's that's something I'm working on that as a player, trying to make sure I remember that. And I always forget. I play a lot in the 1830s. I do a lot of my kind of quote teaching unquote videos in the 1830s, and so it seems like I always forget those things, but at least I got them this time. So now we're going to run that big old line out to Promontory Point, and I ran it off of we know it's going to be an express line, passenger mail. We've got a passenger mail line running out to LA, so we're going to piggyback off that out part of the way, and then we're going to just work our way out through here to go through passes and build as few tunnels or bridges. I tend to avoid tunnels completely. They're the most expensive, but you can't always. But I try to never have tunnels, build as few bridges as possible. First of all, keep in mind, these are passenger lines. Passengers and mail don't weigh much. These trains can haul down through there with a pretty good incline with passengers and mail. It's the freight lines. You have to really watch your slope. It's nice if you don't have slope on a passenger line, but it's just nice. It doesn't make that much difference. So going to try to run this out and kind of go through the mountain passes as much as possible and get this thing all the way up there to Promontory Point, which is a special station put on this map just for the purposes of this mission. It basically represents the point where the east to west line of the Transcontinental Railroad meets the west to east line, and we're of course building the west to east line in this scenario. So, but boy, I bet the folks who built the real one wished it had been this easy to build. So once we get that built, then we'll fire up some passenger trains and run a passenger mail only line with our fastest trains up to Promontory Point from San Francisco, and we'll put new staff on it. When we get conductors and engineers and what have you, we'll put them on that line to make more and more money out of it, make them move faster and be more require less maintenance. You notice we haven't done any maintenance yet because this is going to be over so fast we're not even going to have time. There we've got our long line built now. We've laid a lot of track. We've built now, but the one that actually gave us there is San Francisco. San Francisco is now blown through 50,000, and if it gets up to 60, which it almost is, we can put in our university and have all our optional tasks done. And that move right there is the key to make sure that happens. Put a tailor in San Francisco, it'll consume the products from our clothing, our weaving industry up in Sacramento, because we got a city line going, and that's going to allow us to keep the demand satisfaction up in San Francisco, keep it growing through 60 so we can put in the university. And I think as I hit on myself in my comments, here's where I go through and put in all those passenger cars. And sorry, I'm stuttering because I'm kind of watching that. I just think that's I often get frustrated by the way you get the next line, but here I'm going to make sure I get the San Francisco to LA. I did LA to San Francisco, now San Francisco to LA. There we go. And you'll notice I'm putting all three on there, even though I don't have personnel on all of them. But the idea for me is with a passenger line, I'm going to eventually put staff on it. And I just don't have the patience to go back through there and check every single train, every single time and see, do I have enough staff to warrant a caboose? don't care. I'm going to put the caboose on there. It doesn't cost anything actually. And these trains, your passenger mail lines seldom run full. They will come sometimes, but rarely. So you're not costing yourself anything by having that caboose on there. And it's ready to go when you do put get enough staff on there to amplify their bonuses. So now we're going to finish out that line and let that thing run. And we're just in great shape at this point. I mean, this one was as simple as building a nice 3-city cluster with a pass-through warehouse, getting that express line to LA, and then just and then setting up that warehouse, feeding it the right stuff, getting your beer meat going, of course, and putting in the right industries in Sacramento and San Francisco so that they keep growing. And that's really about it. So let's just fast forward to the end and see how we did. Because at this point, all we're going to do is wait for San Francisco to hit 60, put in a university, and run these trains until we get, we finish off the 100,000 in Sacramento, which we know it'll hit. We all know now from seeing, well, hopefully you do, knowing that from seeing this setup with the 3-city cluster, that middle city is going to grow. There's no doubt about it. And the two ends are going to grow. There's no doubt about it. As long as we keep the goods flowing in there, fill up that warehouse, have our pass-through line going, and put the right industries in. It's simple as that. I did want to add one other comment while it's up here. With version 1, through version 1.7, now we've got these promoters, which just makes this one particularly easy because we can target Sacramento or San Francisco, whichever one makes the most sense to us. In this case, we're going to do Sacramento and keep it growing. Now, San Francisco hasn't quite hit the 60 yet, but the long pole in the tent now is growing Sacramento in terms of the total time that the mission is going to take.
Also has a university.
At this point, San Francisco has blown through 60,000, and we built a university there. And now we've got everything done except finishing off those 50 passengers to Promontory Point and growing Sacramento to 100,000. All right, so we've grown Sacramento, we've carried our 50 passengers. Let's see how we did. We're going to skip the cutscene and move right into the score, and it looks like we did all right. We got a perfect score, 9 out of 9 tasks. We did all our optional, 20 out of 20 on the timing. Couldn't have done any better, so we got a perfect score. And that perfect score only gives us a rating of 30, but that's all right. We did as well as we could do. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it'll help you become a better player, and I hope you'll join us for our next Railway Empire video. Thank you.